backstage of a concert, and the young artist was taking a break and sitting down on a bench, and his band was standing around behind and lingering and drinking some water and talking along with the bodyguards that were there. It's a shame that they have to have bodyguards, but today and age is needed to be done. And as he sat there, just relaxing and unwinding, in walked an elderly gentleman through the back door. Well, that's strange because the back door is always locked. There's no way to getting onto the backstage there without someone letting him in. But no one was there that let him in. But he walked in very casually, so very well-dressed gentleman. And he said, "Excuse me, young man." He said, "Is this seat taken?" He said, "Well, no, it's not. But we don't usually have strangers come and visit us back here. How did you get in?" He said, "Oh, through the back door. You saw me." He said, "Wasn't it locked?" He said, "Yes, it surely was. It was locked." So, looking puzzled at him, but never asked any question, he said, "May I sit down?" He said, "Sure, have a seat." "You're welcome." Just something gentle about the elderly person, and just seemed to be a pleasant individual. No harm intended there, he didn't feel. And he sat there for just a moment in quiet. He said, "Have you been around this neck of the woods long?" He said, "Oh no, I just flew in just tonight. But I came specifically to visit with you." "You did? Do I know you?" "No, I don't believe you do. But I know you." "You do?" "Yeah, I've known you from the time you were born." "Seriously," he said. "Yes, I know your whole family. I especially know your grandmother." "How do you know my family?" "Oh, I've been acquainted with them for a long time." And he said, "By the way, I've been sent with a message just for you." "Oh, is everything okay with my family? Is everything all right? Is there something I need to be concerned about?" He said, "No, now calm down." He said, "This family is fine." He says, "As a matter of fact, they're so proud of you, and they talk of you back when you were a young man, how you were always a young boy trying to entertain everyone." And the young man chuckled. He said, "Yeah, I remember. I always had to have an audience," he said, "and then my family was selected to be the one." He said, "They're fine." He said, "But this message is just for you." He said, "Would you care for a drink of water?" He says, "Well, I don't usually take anything from—" "Oh, yes," he said, "sure." After all, if he was a messenger, and he knew his family and his grandmother and all, surely he was going to be all right. So he reached into his old tattered-looking bag and pulled out a bottle with no label on it, a beautiful bottle with the most crystal clear water in it. Hasn't seen water like that for a while. He said, "Is this special?" He said, "Oh, yes. It's straight from the mountains. Fresh, clear water." So he took the bottle and he said, "Thank you, sir." He said, "Oh, you're quite welcome." He opened the lid and took a sip, and he said, shut his eyes and put his head back. He said, "Oh, that's the most refreshing water I have ever tasted. Oh, I know, I just love drinking that water from the mountain streams," he said. So they sat there for a while, and he drank some water. He said, "Would you care for some?" "Sure." So they shared the water. There wasn't even any concern about, we don't share our water, we don't share what we're drinking or nothing. And they sat there and drank that for a while. It seemed as if after they got settled down and he was seated by him, that there was no audience out in the front of the stage. There was no band members or bodyguards. It was almost as if it was just him and this older gentleman. Quite an interesting experience. He said, "Well, what is my message, sir?" He said, "Well, I'll hand it to you." "You're going to hand my message to me?" "Oh, yes, yes. Just a moment." And he opened up the bag, quite largely so, and it seemed to be quite a light that was shining up out of there. He said, "Do you have one of those bags that has lights on it inside?" "Oh, I've had this for a very, very long time." Said, "I see." So he reached down and he pulled out an old scroll. The young man says, "Is that a scroll?" He said, "Oh, yes, it surely is." And he said, "Now I'm going to hand this to you, and it's just for you. And you are expected to do something great with this." So he handed him a scroll, and the young man said, "Thank you, sir." "May I open it?" He said, "Surely, yes." So he opened the scroll and looked down, and there were words, lyrics to what looked to be a song. And he said, "This is a song." He said, "Sure, yes, it is, but it's not completed." He said, "Well, it looks like all the lyrics is there." He said, "No, no, no." He said, "You must put some of the most beautiful music to it, and you're going to have to take time to do so. So what's expected of you is to give it your best, you and a few selected ones of your band. I want you to go to this cabin that's in the mountains. I want you to set aside some time and you just relax with some of your workers there, your band members and what have you, and work on coming up with some beautiful music to this lyrics." And he sat there for a while and looked at a few lines. He says, Is this something I started writing years ago?" And the gentleman said, Yes, yes, it surely is something you started but never finished." He said, "Well, who finished it?" And the gentleman said, "You looking at him?" He said, "You did a fine job." He said, "Have you written much lyrics to songs?" And, "Oh, yes, yes, I've been a writer for years," he said. He said, "It's plain to see. You're quite a writer." He said, "Well, thank you. I'm inspired by my soul and my heart and what I feel for people. Now," he said, "I want you to know that this song has a purpose, and it's going to help many people and encourage them. It's going to give them reason. You know, at this day and age, a lot of people have lost a lot of faith, a lot of trust, and many have laid aside their dreams and seem to have forgotten about them. They're struggling. But when you get this completed, do you know what he's going to do?" And the young man says, "Well, I have an idea from the way you're talking. It's going to be quite an inspirational song." "Yes, yes, yes, it surely will when you get completed." And he said, "Thank you, kind sir." He said, "Oh, no, no, don't thank me. Thank the higher power that gave this assignment to me to especially bring it to you." And he said, "Will I get to see you anymore?" Oh, yes, yes, you will. Oh, I'll be around, he said. He said, actually, I've been around for a long time, but I will be here. And when you need me, I'm at your beckoning call. So the elderly gentleman stood to his feet. He said, well, I must be off now. I've got other things I must do, achieve, and accomplish. Said, you promise I'll get to see you again? Oh, yes, I promise. And you know, we here, we do not break our promises. And he started walking away, and they bid each other farewell. He said, oh, sir, wait just a moment. He stopped, turned around with a big smile, a grin on his face. He said, may I ask you one more question? He said, why, sure. He said, what is your name? And he says, oh, well, you can call me Dave. And the young man chuckled, and so did the elderly gentleman. He said, okay, nice to meet you, Dave. Ed. Now, I hope you liked my little story. And I look forward to the next time. And so, until next time.